I recently posted an Instagram story of my friend Rodri doing weighted dips with an extended range of motion. He was dropping way past 90 degrees, right down to the limit his joints would allow. What surprised me was that several people answered the story telling me those were strict dips, that this was the right technique, that extended range dips are more effective, and so on. Around the same time, a Calisthenia Discord user shared videos of his own dips, asking if they were correct, and again he was using a much deeper than normal range. The dips were so exaggerated they looked almost odd, so I thought it would be useful to talk about whether going for an exaggeratedly deep range of motion really makes an exercise, dips, pull-ups, push-ups, more strict. Is that beneficial? Could it even be harmful in some cases? When does it make sense to use an extended range and when doesn't it? Let's break it down. Before we start, whatever range you choose, if you don't want to upset Father Hannibal, you should use the code Jedi on Procis. It gets you 10% off, freebies based on your order size, and reward points you can trade off for more gifts. Just look at Hannibal's face if you use a different code. Thanks for the support. When we talk about doing an exercise strictly, at least in terms of range of motion, we set clear parameters so everyone knows what counts as a strict rep. For dips, you bend your arms to 90 degrees and lock your elbows fully on the way up. For pull-ups, your chin has to clear the bar without extending your neck too much, and you must lock out completely at the bottom. For push-ups, the elbows also hit roughly 90 degrees, and then lock out. These are clear, easily spotted checkpoints. You can tell at a glance whether someone is hitting the proper range or serving up the famous 0 reps. Most of us who care about clean form actually go a few centimeters past those checkpoints, so there's no doubt and no need to watch every rep in a slow motion. Whenever an athlete hovers on the edge of the strict range, it's hard to judge, and they are often just trying to fatigue as little as possible to crank out more reps or lift more weight. On my channel, we've long called that selfish range. In sports like street lifting, the rulebook makes you dip slightly below 90 degrees anyway. Your rear shoulder has to reach or drop past the level of the tip of your elbow. That raises an interesting question. Why do we call that the strict range and not any other point in the movement? Two key ideas answer it. First, the movement has to match the definition of the exercise. A dip starts locked out. You bend the arms so the body lowers, then press back up, primarily with pecs, anterior delts, and triceps, until you are locked again. If the range is too short, the move no longer resembles that definition. Pull-ups make the point even more clearly. You hang from a bar and bend your arms until you pass it. If you don't fully extend on the way down, you are not really hanging. And if your chin doesn't clear the bar, you are not really passing it. Nothing in that definition mentions kicking your legs, crossing them, swinging, or keeping. Second, whatever checkpoint we choose has to be objective. Saying you have to dip to a right angle or clear the bar with your chin gives everyone a measurable, dub-free standard. That's why we insist on elbows fully locked, not almost locked, or reaching 90 degrees, not more or less 90 degrees. Whenever you allow that fuzzy almost, the person who wins is the one who cheats that almost the most. Now we can ask, is using an extended range actually stricter? If you already meet the accepted standard and even exceed it a bit so no one has to slow-mo your reps, you are as strict as you need to be. Going way beyond that, dropping to shoulder busting depths in dips or pulling until the bar hits your navel isn't necessarily stricter or more useful. It's better to think of it as a variant, just like explosive dips, incline dips, partial range dips, and so on. So what's the point of extended range exercises? First, they are an easy way to make a move harder. Second, when used sensibly, they can improve joint mobility and help to prevent injuries, for example in the shoulders during dips, though if you overdo it, the opposite happens. Third, they can increase the involvement of certain muscles because the part of the movement where those muscles work the most gets longer. We've talked lately about how training at longer muscle lengths might boost hypertrophy, and extended range tap into that. There are downsides. Extended range can tank your objective performance. If you test max reps or a 1 rep max using it, you'll get fewer reps or lift less weight than with the standard range. It can also be tough on joints and connective tissue. The dangerous dose is lower than with a strict range. That's why it's generally not a beginner strategy but something for more advanced athletes. To wrap up, and while I remind you to like, subscribe, and use the code Gerard at Proxys, extended range is simply another variation. It doesn't automatically mean you are stricter, better, or more effective. In certain contexts and for specific goals, it can be great. But the strict range is one that clearly and objectively respects the exercise definition. You don't have to push it to the extreme to do it right. Let me know your thoughts or any insights you have in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.